do is a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next thing on the agenda is the chairman's selection. It's been tradition for years and years with the board of selectmen that the person for their last year in particular term becomes a chairman. It's just almost automatic. Last year we didn't do it because John didn't want to do it because he was too busy. Mm-hmm. So Barbara did the first 6 months, I did the second 6 months. And this is my third year. So I'd like to keep the tradition going.
I would like to make a motion to nominate Frank DeFruccio to remain as chairman for the next year.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. I agree, I like that.
Yeah, so it as well, keep with the tradition, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so it doesn't
it's
show
been-
favoritism for anyone, it's just like, this is the way it is. It's your turn, okay? Right.
It's your neglect this year.
Yeah, I know. All right, so we have minutes that, this is kind of funky because we only have one person here that is here during these minutes. John is no longer here, Bob wasn't here, and Barbara was unable to be at the meeting. I've looked at those of these with a fine-tooth comb, they look fine to me. I'm gonna approve them. Should we have a caveat to them approved with just one selectman saying they're approved, or? They look good. I don't
I
think there's
reviewed them and
anything.
didn't have any questions about anything that was discussed at the meeting, so if we can do an approval without it being there, you made the motion,
Yeah.
I'll second.
And I like that stipulation on there too, just for the record.
Yeah.
Caveat, that only one of the members present is currently there.
All right.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll just, okay. So the next agenda item is EOP update, the final adoption. And Emily is here.
Should I come up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because you know so much about this. You're so good at this.
So we have gotten to the point where we are ready to do the final adoption of the emergency operations plan. We've completed all the meetings and everything. I think some of the key things, hopefully you all have been able to take a look at it. There's actually the signature of the adoption of the plan, the adoption of the NIMS, the National Incident Management System. And then we have to have everybody participate to sign off on that. So I will work with Julie to get the rest of the signatures so we can send that off to Olin and Jim Garno at MAPS. The thing is that we really want to make sure that all the signees understand their roles. What's really nice with MAPS is they'll provide us with a final packet, which includes sort of, they call them player packets, but for each role that we'll have a copy of the plan, so that's been really helpful. I guess some certain things that need to I just sort of bring your attention to, we are still in the process of finalizing memorandums of understanding with the Whitney Center and the library. The Whitney Center serving as our primary shelter and the library serving as our secondary shelter. There's been, a lot of challenges just sort of going through the year with everybody's time. But hopefully I'll be able to finalize, I'll be attending the school board meeting on Monday and addressing any of the concerns that the SAU had at the building. And then meeting with the library trustees in May. They didn't want to sign off on anything until Whitney was signed. So regardless, we've had a shelter. We've done a shelter in the Whitney Center without any MOU.
Mm-hmm.
So we all come together in times of distress. So I'm pretty confident about that.
Call it a slumber party instead, right?
Pretty much, that's what it was. Yep, that conference room is very comfortable.
Very handy.
Yeah. I think what's really exciting too is that we have put a volunteer sort of registration process into place. That was shared it's been incorporated into the annual report. A couple folks have come to me and asked me more about it. I haven't checked my mailbox, but I don't know if there are any more registrations. So essentially, that is something that Primex really sort of reiterated to us, you know, that you have some record of folks signing up, and obviously, we are putting them, it's primarily aimed at sort of shelter operations. Someone who can help dish out soup, things like that, so just to cover things. And I'll just say that we have a lot of great Jackson-specific pictures in the EOP this time. We made a special effort to get out the generic ones and get.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, there's a great
Pictures.
shot of the fire truck on the top of Mount Washington on the back, and just other. Thanks to all the work with the facilities committee, we had all those pictures in place, so
Great.
we can send them along. So were there any specific questions that you all had, or?
No, I really haven't had a chance to get through it
Okay.
all, so.
Well, Frank was great in representing you all, and I think Bob, you've probably been through it before,
I'm
the
sure.
process.
Well, I made an intentional effort to forget everything I so, but I kind of remember something.
Okay. Well, you'll have an opportunity, the next thing up is our hazard mitigation plan.
Oh, yeah.
And I pushed that off, to still be within the period of performance that needs to happen. That won't be starting till April next year. I got some feedback from everybody, can you please start these things like after town meeting
Yeah.
and not in budget season and stuff like that, so. There are no questions?
No, I just want to make the
King
point again.
something.
Make the point again, we talked a little bit about that whole self-preparation, people being ready
Right,
within their own homes.
yeah,
That would be a great help for everybody if
Yes.
they, maybe it was a backup heating system.
yeah.
The food, things, the different things, emergency stuff that you could have that could really help in an emergency so that they might not need somebody to go there,
Right,
that they can take care of themselves.
yeah,
But I know so many things were covered and
Yeah.
did a good job. I mean, I think really the folks.
yeah, I mean, everybody did a great job attending, it was a good, yeah. And it was all via Zoom, for MAPS, I mean, in terms of Olin and June, they didn't have to come here, we just, you know, we can do it in the firehouse, and I did that, so it worked out, well.
Great, thanks for all you do.
Oh, well, thanks, takes a village.
Mhm.
But, yeah, and I will I'll be at the Whitney, the Senior Expo, and really kind of harping on that, you know, emergency preparedness.
Right.
So,
piece that you-
Yeah, if I could
so,
pop that up again. Senior Expo is tomorrow, and as a result of the feedback from the facilities survey, many folks think that we need more senior services in Jackson. Now, that isn't specific, so tomorrow we hope to enlighten people as to what we have already available in Jackson, what services are offered through the Gibson Center, the Mount Washington Valley Age Friendly Committee, walking trails, all the really good stuff, as well as emergency preparedness and Meals on Wheels, transportation, and those things. So please, if you are a senior and want to attend, or you know someone that's a senior and think this would be beneficial, there are a couple people that are hoping to get some hiking groups back together that stopped because of COVID, and any other groups that might start. So like I teased before, we didn't want it to be Ferber and White and other programs like that. We really wanted it to be more upbeat and resourceful. So it's a senior expo.
All right, we'll have to entertain a motion to adopt the EOP, the final adoption.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Okay.
great work.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
And you all will get that to Julie, and,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
We're not
I
gonna
apologize,
forget.
I have to
We
leave,
signed
I have to
everything.
get back to boiling sap the last of the
Sounds
season.
fun. Heard that excuse.
Thank you.
All right, there's some things to sign. Yes. Ben, you're up next. This is about the Jackson East Side Walk Foundation. You want
Yes.
to do some work there,
Yeah, the
upgrading?
East Side Walk is the entity that's maintained the river walk pathway from the Stone Bridge to the fire pond and maintains the gardens there. After Hurricanes Irene and Sandy had washed out the gravel pathway in 2013. So there's been a need to restore the pathway back to its original status, and so it would be ADA compliant, so that you could roll a wheelchair over. And so we've been working on trying to get that, and then COVID happened. So we finally been able to get a contractor lined up, and we're in the process of going through DES permitting, or shoreline permitting. But we're looking at getting work started between Memorial Day and the 4th of July. He expects it would be about 2 weeks of work. I guess our main thing bringing to the town is just that this permit will be coming across to the select board soon. And also just working with coordinating where we'll be staging and storing materials while we're working on the project. He has 2 pieces of equipment that he'll probably be parking down there. We had originally talked about staging everything at the fire pond, just as to move it from, not have multiple places, but that's obviously up for discussion if Selectmen or anyone else feels strongly about that, and also just coordinating calendars to see if there's anything that comes up that we need to work around or anticipate. That contractor doesn't anticipate any real limitations on accessing the other parts of the ball fields or fields around there. It'll be really limited to just the walkway area.
As long as the kids can fish and people can play out there, we're just make room.
Yeah, he expects there'll be about 5 loads of gravel and stone material there. So he needs about like 100-foot square area to work in there. So we could obviously stage it around there and still keep the fire access open, or looking at having things staged at the snowflake, but trying to have everything in one place makes the most sense, just for moving the dump trucks in. I alerted the planning board about this. They didn't seem to have any issues, and Kevin, if you want to, if there's any.
I can't think of it.
Okay.
No.
Gary, do you care where they put
No.
everything?
Yeah, we have a
Well,
plan.
I guess the biggest thing is, as long as Jerry would be upset if you blocked his fire access to that pond, other than that, you probably wouldn't have any problem.
Okay.
That's a great path. I
They'll
love
wait.
that walk.
No trouble.
You were quoted. No. Okay.
Yeah, so this is just looking at it's a little bit more of a intensive repair than what it had originally been looking at, but looking at the longevity of the path and how much it's used, we really wanted to make sure that it maintained accessible for a long time, and the maintenance was easy on that. So that's why we're going for a slightly more intensive process, but I think it'll benefit the pathway in the long run. So.
Trying to have the disruption. I'm sorry, I'm Caitlin Strauss-Bowers. I'm the treasurer and secretary of the Jacksonville Sidewalk Foundation. Yeah, in our last board meeting, we had sort of discussed that since we want this project done to the benefit of all, that it seemed to make sense to try and maybe be a bit more disruptive one time,
Yeah.
rather than this year, do this section,
Right.
be a nuisance for a couple of weeks, possibly, hopefully not, but
Is that what you're figuring, maybe a couple of weeks?
That's at the outset. So when we originally walked the property, it was early November and there was a snowstorm. So he was unable to see the actual state of the trail. So he will be out tomorrow, putting some flagging out for the permitting process. And so 2 weeks was his outsize of a complete trail reconstruction. I don't think, he doesn't anticipate that, but that was sort of his outside time at max use.
And what about start date, what you're thinking?
We haven't pinned anything down, but we just wanted it to be before 4th of July.
Oh, okay.
And
All right.
so just make sure that all work is done and completed before then, for the 4th of July fireworks. early so you could start Memorial, just trying to fit it between any Memorial Day activities that would happen on the village common.
Who takes care of the flowers on the path?
We do,
You do?
the foundation.
Yeah,
There,
it's beautiful and just, it's in such need of repair on the walkway, but the flowers are always gorgeous, so,
yeah, Jen Abrams does a wonderful job with her crew
yeah,
down there the past several summers.
awesome.
Is there any recognition of Lee Harmon and him? He started that thing. I was around the last time as a selectman, and Betty Whitney also putting money and time into that effort.
Yeah, there is
Couple benches
there's a large rock
Yeah.
sort of in the middle,
Mm.
which has the initial
Thanks.
benefactors,
Yeah.
including Lee Harmon. I'm not sure Betty Whitney's on there, but
Okay. She was involved because she went to some of the meetings. As I
Oh,
recall,
okay.
but, because we owned the Jack Frost shop, right?
right.
Yeah, before it became Snowflake Inn and
Right.
all that. But he was a cool guy.
His
No, no,
instigation, I
Yeah,
understand, right,
really
to
was. Yeah.
get the whole project.
And the original funder, so the fund that we managed, it was established after out of his
Yeah.
estate, so.
That's awesome.
Well, all right. I think this is a great idea. We have to make a motion to accept this. You guys are going to do a lot of work over there, so I'll make a motion that the Jackson East Side Walk Foundation get started when they're ready to get started. Does anybody like to second that?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
I,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really? Okay. All right, Ken, Conservation Commission. We can.
I'm
all
here
you
to,
and Kara,
I'm here to request that the Conservation Commission can work with the Highway Department on two separate projects. The first, and you have the big glossy color print here, which is what the stump dump is up at Prospect Farm. As you may or may not remember, in the Prospect Farm General Management Plan, the concept is to, well, actually it was voted to close the stump dump and to convert that into another parking space, because the current parking space that we have up there during the summer is actually overfilling much of the time. I did get a call from Dick Bennett this afternoon. I think there was some concern from the Highway Department that they'd either have to grind up the stumps or they would have to remove those. I don't think that that's necessary. I think if you look at this, my guess is in a half day to a day, just kind of rearranging, pushing some of the stumps back if they're in the way, and most of them, I don't even believe are in the way right now. So we can just define a logical place for cars to park, the same as the one that exists just before you get to that location. I think if you try to take the stumps out of there, as you know, we did have a problem with knotweed there. We just run the risk of moving it. The only question that would come up is the surface, as to whether or not it would just be too mucky when it gets wet. I think that's to be determined once we get out there. I don't think out there, you know what that looks like.
No, my only concern was that, how in depth you wanted this to get, and if you was gonna be required to move stumps, and I was like, that's a huge project, and that would be beyond our means
Right.
if we had to do that.
My guess is walking through there that this will be as adequate as the existing one, but let's go out and take a look at it once the snow.
Yeah, I
clears.
drove up there, there's no way we'd be up there, I drove up there today, and the guy's gonna be a while.
Oh, yeah.
There's
There's still skiing out
I
there.
mean, we have no problem leveling the ground out, and, I'm sure you're gonna need some gravel on the top
Yeah.
to bind that up. But yeah, we can help do that, that's not an issue, but if we get into moving stumps, I was like, we're gonna.
Did we decide to close the stump dump though?
Yes,
That was in
This
both.
is it, yeah.
Yeah.
We did, after we looked at the.
talking about it,
Yeah,
and then
we
I
brought
thought,
everybody in here, we had the
Yeah.
Prospect Farm
Yeah.
covenant.
right,
It's
right.
really said you can't do things like that out there.
What
They
was
have
the
been doing-
alternative gonna be?
They actually,
Well,
the plan was approved at a town vote, which included that
Right.
within it.
Right.
What was the alternative for future stump dump?
Well,
Was it
there are none
maybe
in
the-
town. I don't think it was just about, there are people that go out of town or whatever, but
Gotcha.
we just wanted to make sure that people had always been using the stump dump understood
Understand.
where we were going. We didn't want to just say, these are the new ways and we're just setting you aside.
Right.
We got everybody on the same table. So.
And I've met with the Saco District Ranger, Jim Ennis, and of course their recommendation is if they had to get involved, they'd have to do an environmental assessment. This, that, and the other stuff. And this actually is on town property. Once we proceed with this, then the Forest Service would move their gate out to the actual
That's
boundary
what
itself, so that people can access this, otherwise
Yeah.
you would have a parking lot with a gate in front of it, which would make it
How
not
many
functional.
spaces are you looking at?
What's
How
that?
many spaces, parking spaces? Any-
This would be similar to the one that's out there right now. I think you can probably get about 5 to 7 cars in, yeah, be in that zone.
Nice.
Sometimes 8. Sometimes 8, depends what size.
Depends
As
on
the
where
cars
they're
get
from.
bigger, it'll be 7, then it'll
Yeah.
be 6, it'll be 5.
Yeah, sure.
Are you gonna have any charging stations installed?
Oh,
No,
no.
I'm just kidding, just kidding.
The wind farm just up the road.
Shameful.
Good idea.
And then the second request would be, we're gonna have the Jackson Ski Touring Foundation sign maker make some signs for the Jackson Falls, which will be the no parking signs. And then our plan is to try to just get some nice some pressure treated posts so that we can put them up, just to get the aesthetics of that area look a little bit better. We may need some assistance here just to get some poles to get posted.
I'm glad we've evolved
Yeah.
to where we're going.
I know that my husband David is gonna be working with Tish on the signage, which was also out of the facilities committee survey.
Yep.
That we need new and better and different signage, and certainly consistency, aesthetics are huge. And then, we already have so many kiosks at some of the walking trails, but where is the other access to, how do we find out where the walking trails are
Yeah.
in Jackson? What are they good for? So I appreciate your start on that too, because the trails and the signage are kind of related,
Yes.
knowing where the trails are, and then how do you access the signage and the access to it.
Prospect Farm signs are pretty complete. There's some that's,
Yes,
we know that needs to be upgraded.
Mhm.
but even
And the
just,
signs we'll be putting up, essentially what the Ski Touring Foundation is purchasing the plastic wood that's double colored, so that once you come in and engrave out the letter, it comes up and those things last. Have you seen any of the new Ski Touring Foundations? So these would be brown signs with white lettering,
Yeah.
nice.
is what those will be.
And the other thing we want to do is to incorporate where parking is in town. So when they get started on that subcommittee, making sure that they get with the Ski Touring Foundation to say these are parking spots that are legal parking spots versus, everybody up on the grass type of thing. That'll be really important to make sure that they know there are 5 spots available at this address. So I appreciate all that work too. All come together nicely.
And then the last thing is, there was a subcommittee on the facilities committee, which was the trail list. If you can read micro print size there, I just ran this off real quick. This is a draft of what we've come up with. There were 5 people on that committee. We did it all by Zoom. These are only the trails that are in Jackson. Some people started to, pretty soon it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the information that we'll have here is just who owns the land, whether there's a fee. And this will be for summer walking, basically. Whether the terrain is either easy, moderate, or difficult. Any comments? There are some challenges here when you list out these trails. For example, to climb up to Eagle Mountain, which is behind Eagle Mountain Hotel, there's a nice trail that's on private land that's also parking in their parking lot, which they don't want. So we're trying to be sensitive to not sending
Right.
folks to areas which is just simply gonna create an issue. And then, on the far side will be a list of where they can go get further information if they want the specifics. But we weren't writing a trail guide, we were just
Right.
we were writing guidance to get you to the trail information you want.
Right.
I have a few more tweaks to make to this, and if it's all right with you folks, then I would have Julie just take these and put it up on the town website.
Perfect.
And I would suggest that we put it on the town website, not on the Conservation Commission, but over, and I think it's on the far right there where it talks about
Yeah.
resources and directs you to the chamber and ski touring. I think that's the best place for it. So shortly I should get the final version to you, and then we can post that there.
And then we'll take this and make sure Emily has it, because she's on the Mount Washington Valley Age-Friendly Steering Committee, making sure that, because they have all the walking trails in all of the 12 communities, making sure that that's up to date with this
That would be
information
one
as
heck
well.
of a list.
Hmm?
That would be one heck of a list.
It's amazing.
That's-
It is
Just give
amazing.
me the AMC guidebook or something.
Yeah, exactly. They have all the walkable trails. And when we think age-friendly, even though it's the senior steering committee, it's also for moms with strollers and
Yeah.
whether pets are allowed and everything. So this is great information, and I think it's going to be really valuable. So thank you.
And Gary and Ken, you guys will be working together all the time?
Yeah.
That's good.
I will get the Jackson
Wonderful.
signs made pretty quick through the ski touring, and then we'll just touch bases
Yeah,
once the
let's
snow
not,
goes.
once the snow goes and frost gone.
Yeah.
All right. Terrific. Thanks.
You're going to deliver Chief Curley's signs back to him?
We'll actually put one sign up at Prospect that just says additional parking 30 yards down the road, so that
Perfect.
if that's locked, because if you're up in the summer, you know where the junction is between those trails, now you're
Yeah.
getting cars that are parking, and if there's a need for emergency, it's gonna be more
Right,
difficult.
Great.
All right. Good. Next up on the agenda, short-term rental application is a revision that we've made. Basically, it's always been part of our,
Thanks, Gary.
that if you're not grandfathered, or if you're not living on your property and have a short-term rental, you're limited to 30 rentals a year. And we've sent letters out to folks who fall under that guideline, 30. And we're making sure that by the end of the month next year, the following year, that they will show us exactly what they've done to prove to us that they have not gone over 30. And so these letters just went out, so it's just part of the whole thing that Bill, you folks put together, and we just put the enforcement part of this thing in there for that.
So on the enforcement side, what happens if we get someone that has 31? Do they get a violation notice?
Well,
Or
that's-
do we think about that?
Well, that's something we have to think. We're gonna do the same thing we're doing now first, and then the second is a 275, and then the third you're out. I don't know. I don't think did the planning board ever kind of think about what the penalty would be if someone goes over 30? We're just, because we have to do something, there's gotta be some teeth in it, but I'm not exactly sure how. And
But I
Barbara
think
asked a
that's
good question.
probably
Yeah,
our job.
It's not entirely clear the way the zoning ordinance is written. If you take a look at the enforcement, it does say that you're limited. And then when we get to the enforcement, it is the process that you have. But it's really a determination by the selectmen as to how they enforce that.
Mhm.
The first violation's a may, but everything else is a for sure, you're gonna do it. And I don't think we anticipated someone actually exceeding the amount.
And saying they
As
did.
a violation.
Right. Admitting it, yeah. True.
But I would expect that, obviously the most severe violation would be a 3-month cessation
Mhm.
of their permit.
Right.
And it would seem to me that if they have violated their deal, they should have some enforcement action against them,
Mhm.
not just simply a slap on the wrist.
Right.
Well, maybe we're gonna have a little more discussion about,
Yeah, be a little
you
creative
know,
on
what we're gonna do about that. Bob, you have any thoughts on?
Well, I think, yeah, and then what happens if their permit is rescinded for 3 months and they violate that? And
Right.
so there
So the
needs
first
to be a
violation, so-
Yeah, the
provision laid
enforcement's
out.
fairly clear. If you violate that, it's per time, and there's a rate per time
Mhm.
Right.
that you do that, and they have to figure out whether it's worth it to do that.
So, yeah, I was thinking, when that's all laid out on one document and that's clear to anybody that's involved with the short-term rental policy, because it seems like that's what where you'll want to have the results of this discussion housed on
Right.
a document.
I think the other thing you could do is come back to the planning board and say, can you give us something more succinct in the event of that kind of violation, and we can see if we can hammer something out.
I think we can anticipate that we won't have any violations, because
Right.
everybody's gonna be 28, 29, 27, if it even gets to that high, right?
Right.
We're never gonna see 31, although there is a way of knowing, you can actually prove through these short-term rental organizations,
Mhm.
just how many rentals that they have. Yes,
Thank you. Dan Sear, calling son. Couple things, like, it just seems like a due process issue if you have to prove that you're innocent rather than prove, well, it seems like the burden would be on the town to prove that they rented 31 days or 32 days rather than the owner proving that they rented 29, right?
no, I don't
No,
think
I
so.
don't think so. That wasn't the anticipation writing the ordinance at all.
They know the ordinance says 30.
Right.
It's up to them to let us
But
know
like-
that they didn't go over 30.
Like DWI or any crime bird, where you pick one, you don't say, well, prove to me you're innocent. The burden is on the state, right?
I don't think it's a burden of a crime being committed, it's an accountability for an ordinance. So if someone is required to report to the town that, like an accountability, so when you file your meals and rentals tax return, and you have to submit documentation to support what you're paying in, it's sort of like that. So if you're saying I have a short-term rental, my documentation says that I have 28 occurrences, we'll call them, of rentals, you're simply providing documentation of your accounting for those rentals rather than defending a violation.
How do you, and do you consider a rental something where you actually hand the keys over to a guest, or is it just it was offered for that day?
No, just, it would be an actual rental and it would be an occurrence. So if you rent it for 1 week, that would be one occurrence. If you rent it for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that would be a second occurrence. So it's each individual party renting it for a period of time.
And Airbnb and STR, show precisely who's renting for what period of time, and then goes on to the next and the next and the next. So that those records would be able to they'd be able to get those records to us, so that we could ascertain that they haven't gone over 30 after a year of rentals.
All right, but it seems like you're compelling something that, is that a condition of the permit that they have? to turn
Yes.
over?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
It is part of the application, it's part of the zoning ordinance. It is a requirement of the permit that you prove that you do not rent more than 30 times. It says right in the document.
Right. And so we're just now sending those letters out.
Just the same way you have to file
And
taxes.
so now you have, they're listed on the agenda, I think, but you have this number of people that are over some amount.
No, we don't have anybody over that amount, as far as we know, all right?
Those
We're just really getting to this now, making sure that they realize, the ordinance has always been out there saying 30, but we haven't pushed it, I guess, or haven't gotten the information out the way we need to, or the way we're doing now is sending letters to everybody that falls under this category, to know what they have to do, to make sure that we know that they haven't gone over 30.
I think.
Okay, yeah, so we have to make a motion. I'll just read what Jason, our attorney, said. It's gonna be, the letter basically says, we understand and accept that for short-term rentals in the residential district, we must provide an annual rental list on or before January 31st for the preceding calendar year. I'll make a motion that we send this letter and accept this as part of what we should be doing for our zoning ordinance and regarding STR. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
You? There's nothing to second. Okay, updated personnel policy. This is basically a housekeeping document. We're just trying to add to it just a few things that have come up that we decided we have to sort of cover ourselves a little more. Julie, do you have anything, we can say anything about the updated?
No. It was reviewed by council.
Right. So I think that it's, like I say, more or less housekeeping. So,
I've looked at it, I've reviewed it,
Yeah.
everything was
Yeah.
in red font, and so it was pretty clear what the proposal is for, so
okay.
I'm ready to vote.
All right, he's ready to vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the personnel policy.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Police donations, somebody, a motion to accept, well, I'll just say it, it's $100 has been donated to the police department. So we have to make a motion to accept a $100 donation to the police department. And this is from the Walton family.
Make that motion that we accept $100 donation.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, okay. The library appointments need signatures for the board here. Okay, what do we have? Make a motion to, I'm gonna read some of them off, okay? We have, Dick Bennett, planning board regular member to replace Chris McClear's term. 1 year, McClear's term expires in 2024. Do you want to do these one at a time? I'll say make a
You can
motion.
do one motion for all.
One motion.
All right, we'll do one. Okay, Jerry Dougherty, planning board alternative member, 2-year term that expires in 2025. Selectmen's rep, planning board selectmen's rep must be selectmen or employee. No elected officials we need to appoint. We haven't done that yet.
Did you want to appoint someone now, or do you want to?
Well, I don't know. Is that something, Bob, that you have any interest in playing as an alternative?
Oh, no. I wasn't sure how these were gonna get divvied out, if we're looking at a
Right,
whole
do we talk
package
about-
about liaisons,
Yeah.
committee memberships, and.
Yeah, that's why I just kind of like, I read it, didn't say anything, because we have to
Okay.
do that, so maybe we.
All right,
I have
so
it
you want to
filled in where,
Yeah, we'll have a little further discussion
Okay.
between the three of us, because it'll be
Gotcha.
one of us, okay, so.
Okay,
see, I
so
can
we'll
see
keep
where
going
this is
on the
going.
others. Sorry.
We would greatly appreciate having
Someone
someone who
attend.
will attend regularly.
Yeah,
was there
You have to
someone
say.
last year?
Pardon?
Did you
No.
have a representative?
We had one,
Yeah.
but
He didn't attend many meetings, so we need to have.
there was some difficulty with that.
Got it, okay.
good minutes and notes and all that other stuff, that can be very, very helpful. Anyway, Frank Benish, zoning board of adjustment, regular member, reappointment, 3-year term expires 2026. Dave Mason, zoning board of adjustment, regular member, reappointed, 3-year term expires in 2026. Joanne Driscoll, library alternate trustee, recommended by the library trustees for a 1-year term. And Stan Cobus, library alternate trustee, recommended by library trustees for 1 term.
I'll make a motion to appoint those folks to all of the boards.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we got a bunch of stuff this night. How many of these are on there? Okay. There's one. Come on over to you, Bob.
Put them up here, then they're ready to go over. All right. Just one on each front page?
Yep.
Okay.
The wheels of government go slow.
Don't they have like a separate pen that they use to sign for each of the bills? You missed one.
Did I miss one? That's it. That is crazy.
Because
Just ask the Jews, they'll tell you.
No, hold on.
Right.
You passed
What's
over
that?
there and I didn't sign.
Oh, you didn't get
it.
those? I thought you did. Oh,
These two are.
oh, I thought you were scrolling down on you, yeah. Yeah. No, this is a different one.
Oh, that's a future.
Okay, just do- There you go, Bob.
Thank you.
All right, so that was the library board appointments. Sorry, trustee of trust funds and withdrawal and funding request. Board of Selectmen requesting the following withdrawals from the trust funds as indicated below. $1,909 from the Mark Hammer Police Department Fund. And order number 376019 dated 2/21/2/23. And I'll make a motion that we withdraw these funds.
Second?
Did you say where the invoice was from? Is that where it
Did I mention it? Yeah. The invoice is, order number, invoice number, Mark Hammer Department Fund, borrows from the trust fund as indicated. I don't see anything more there. This in the back here.
I
What am I
think
looking
the
for,
order
John?
number.
Okay, the order
is
number,
actually-
376019.
Okay, it was an online order, is that what it was?
Yeah, Dave
Okay.
ordered.
Okay.
All right.
Need a motion, second,
Second.
all in
those in
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if we did all that.
We didn't.
Got lost.
Hank, could you replay that for us?
All right, here. Okay, we have another trustees of trust funds withdrawal and funding requests for the police department, equipment, ETF.
So this is the funding through the warrant articles.
Right.
So,
Okay, $3,000. Fire department, $20,000 for ETF 0046. Maloon groundwater, it was Article 5, all these are in Article 5. $10,000 for more work up there and for more monitoring. In town office equipment also, which was on Article 5, for a total of $38,750. I'll make a motion that we transfer this money.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so now we're at the raffle permit, believe it or not. We have to make a motion to accept this, as Julie has explained to me. Someone asked about it, and you can have a raffle in town, but it can't go more than 24 hours.
I'm
Gotta
pretty
be
sure
within-
that's, yeah, there's a time limit, and as long as you're within that time limit, you wouldn't need the town-approved raffle permit.
Right.
Julie Hoyt prepared it as it may come up, it hasn't yet, but it may.
Not in the 9 years that you've been here, you said, and I can't, but, I mean, it can happen, right? So we're ready, just in case this thing.
What's the raffle for?
We don't know. This
The
is-
one that's come up, I think,
Oh,
is
yeah.
the, like a golf course event,
Oh, okay.
so.
Got it.
Duck race?
But it's just a- it's-
No,
Because
it's,
that's not a raffle, is it?
It's just,
I don't know.
this is a general
Oh, I
kind
guess,
of
yeah,
what
different.
raffles
It's
are,
different.
the charitable, religious,
But it's not
educational,
24.
civic, that's right, there's all kinds of different things that it could be. But anyway, we have to make a motion to at least have this raffle permit ready in case somebody wants to use it.
So it's not a raffle permit that we're
It's not a-
approving for someone, it's the
Nothing
form?
that's
If
specific.
someone were to hold
Right.
an event for a raffle that lasted
Right.
several days, they would
Right.
need permission
I
from the
see.
town.
It's a very general
Got you.
template here,
Okay.
and we're ready for it.
We're ready for the raffles.
Well, you gotta be ready. Okay, so, I'll make a motion. Did we do that already? I'll make a
No.
motion. I'll make a motion that we put this in our bag of tricks, the raffle permit.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right.
No casinos, though.
No, didn't say that. Didn't say that. Okay, every year, North Country Angler uses the pond out in the park to go fishing. I'm not exactly sure when he's gonna be doing that, but I'm hoping it works out with everything you folks are doing. Steve Engel couldn't be here today, but this is something it's just a wonderful thing for kids.
Yes.
Get introduced to fishing and all of that. And adults can fish in that pond too. We gotta help the kids, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the fishing day.
Fishing
Kids.
Day, the North Country Anglers planted by,
And
okay.
as long as they
Maybe
don't go.
peace appreciate.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, okay, got it. Okay. Okay, we have our intent to cut, a report of a cut, actually. Stephen Dinsmore, the Dinsmore Revocable Trust, 2012, it goes back to, do I have to mention the amount of this?
No.
Field tax,
No.
well, it's 4,000, okay, so, you wanna make a motion? Somebody make a motion to accept this?
I'll make a motion that we accept the report for the timber cut.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There is something we have to sign here.
Two spots, did you get the two spots?
There's two.
No, I didn't. Oh, yeah, she should. She knows.
He's a repeat offender.
That's true. How could you do that, you know? You get it? Right.
You just need one signature on that first one, right? Should go back to the bottom.
No, it's the, up top.
Sign here.
See if she kind of hides them.
Yeah, I know she puts it on there to see if you're actually reading.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the Valley Crossroad Bridge loan from Escoma Bank. It's a motion to, we have to motion to approve to cover until we get the DOT money that's already coming to us. We've already raised 20%, and this is about the bridge. This may be the year that we're gonna build. It's gonna be done, right? Where, well, I know, I mean, it's a strong maybe, yeah. But, you know, Julie has a good sense of this, and she's given us a very strong.
Well, I said I'll wait till I actually see it, right?
I'll make a motion to sign the Valley Crossroad Bridge loan document.
Okay.
Tide us over.
Has a bid, a request for bid gone out yet?
I don't know.
We're ready, this thing is close.
I keep checking in and I, have been told, I think we're waiting for one more thing from DOT and then they're gonna be going through the next process for prior to construction, so I don't know.
So first of all, second the motion. And then I did have some questions
Oh,
around
okay,
that
sorry.
bridge,
Okay.
just
Okay.
because it's
Been going on forever.
something we messed around with
I know,
back in
when you were-
2018.
Yeah.
So, am I correct to understand it's the same engineering design?
But the trusses are back,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the trusses are now on the
Okay.
bridge, they will be,
Sorry, I'm nervous tech every time I hear the word trusses.
yes, due to historical significance, it was gonna be too difficult to do anything other than place them back on the bridge.
okay.
And
But they're gonna be taken off-site and reworked, was
Oh,
the
yeah,
last
Yeah.
thing.
definitely. Yeah.
Basic, essentially renovated and rebuilt and whatever.
I believe that the town report 3 years ago had the drawing in the back, and I believe it's the same
Yeah.
Okay,
as that, except with the trusses on.
okay. I mean, you guys would
It'd
know
be
if
cool.
it didn't rework and something.
The trusses are basically the biggest thing, you know, the historical society
Sure.
thought it would be a good idea, you know,
Yeah.
to keep those things, they're 105 years old.
Right.
And
Put those originally down in the bridge down in the village.
That's right.
There at one point.
yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
We did work on that bridge back in 89, 90, 91.
Man,
Jackie
so-
Butler and the crew went in there and they sandblasted it and made it look nice, and it's lasted all this time. But, you know, we're gonna make it.
Great. Thanks for filling me in.
You weren't here for the really important stuff, Bob, because we had to vote on what color to paint.
on.
Use for the
What was
banner
that
else.
taking?
I
About 4
Was
meetings.
it brown?
think brown. I believe so.
Okay, now we have another bridge, the Dundee Road Bridge. And basically, this thing has been red flagged. We know we're gonna have to do something at some point. This is down the road here a little bit. They're saying construction years from 2027 to 2032, and it's a good bit of money. Again, we're gonna have to pay 20% of the bridge. I'm here to say right now that I don't know exactly which bridge this is. I just don't know which one it is, but there's one that's been red flagged up there.
What is, it says mill, is it mill?
Is it Mill?
It says right on the top of the letter.
Oh, yeah, okay. But I'm still, yeah, what is it?
It's
Jackson Bridge,
Millbrook?
Millbrook, okay.
Kevin, do you know which bridge?
Yeah.
Which bridge is that?
You know where Dinsmore's house is, right on the knoll?
Yeah.
And if you're heading northbound to go up Dundee, and you
Mhm.
go down in that hole again, it's right there. And there's only one more house on the left before you start up Dundee Road. So it's basically missing, one side had a little stone wall that I think fell into the river.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there might be like, I don't even know what's there now. Those Jersey barriers maybe or something like that. The other one's in really bad shape.
There's not if you're heading north, there's not a house to the,
Just
the,
before the
to the
road to
right.
Dick Bennett's too, you know where the
Yes.
Dick Bennett's, yeah.
Okay.
It's just down in that hole right there where the river comes.
So DOT is asking if we wanna put this one in the
It's actually a
queue
right,
to participate in the same program Valley Cross Road Bridges in.
Yeah, I
Right.
know.
So-
Sounds really bad shape.
so what this is about is to get ready for something that needs to be done.
And that's the
Okay.
only other bridge in town that's been red flagged, or the only bridge. Right now that we,
I think there might be one on Green Hill Road.
I thought
too.
there was another one.
Yeah, the one on Green Hill Road's got a big crack on the abutment side.
and
It's not going anywhere, but shouldn't have a big crack.
is that a bridge that is in the state's queue, or that the state?
Not right now, this would be
Strictly
the,
town.
This is the only
this would
one.
be the
Yeah.
second one.
What is the estimate on this
The estimate is $199,200
for
for
our
us.
portion?
That's
So
our
around
20%,
a million.
it's almost $1 million, yeah.
Guess that capital reserve will get bumped back up.
Yeah, might as well just keep
Yeah.
it.
But again, it's out there, well, so we have some time to work on this. It's saying 2027 to 2032.
Do we have
It's a
to-
5-year spread right there. and we're
You
still-
just have to say yes, that you'd like to submit it
Yeah,
to start the process of being in that.
Get it in the
so we're just gonna check that yes, and then the municipal contact name, you,
Oh, you can, I'll do that
all
part.
right, okay. All right, so did we do it? Did we make a motion? Make a motion to do this and get ready?
We start the process to get that bridge, the Mill Street Bridge, or Millbrook Bridge into the
Right,
state's list of red flag bridges.
I will second that motion.
all in favor?
All right?
Aye. Just when we thought it was.
Just that we're done with bridges.
But that was the problem with the Valley Crossroad Bridge, is I think we had an opportunity to get it in that queue a number of years before, and I think at the time, whoever was on the board thought that it had gotten into the queue, but
Oh,
it hadn't.
geez.
But we could have very easily had that bridge 5 years earlier on the list. So sooner the better is my
Yeah,
thinking, if they're flagging it.
yeah, for sure.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is a permanent application for property tax credits and exemption. This is a debt credit. Is there an amount on this? Yeah, $500. It's a $500 credit for veterans. And I think this is kind of a no-brainer for us. Is
Yeah.
there any questions?
I'll make a
or-
motion to accept the application for the vet credit.
Mhm.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we got some things we gotta sign on this one. Oh, this is type signature, okay. And we'll print here because no one can do that. Okay.
You?
All right. We have something, I guess it's pending. We know we want to get another porta potty.
Oh, wait, there's one more item.
Oh, facilities committee?
Nope, the extended liquor license.
Oh, yeah, oh, that's right, we just wrote that in. Extended liquor license, that's right. This gives permission to Wentworth Resort to serve alcohol outside of their licensed area and to be outside, so again, something that we do pretty normally. We tell them about the noise that they can't make and music stops at 10:30 and all this other stuff, but,
Bob,
This
that
has been done.
information is now incorporated in the letter
right,
that we send to the state, so it makes it
Is this for their tenth then?
Great.
yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to extend the liquor license for the Wentworth.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
and that goes through November 5th. Okay.
Did you see all the furniture they got
Yeah.
delivered over the last couple
I
of
did
days?
not.
Oh my goodness. Fire sale.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. You go, okay.
So facilities committee,
It's pending. Yeah,
but again, I'm just gonna mention the senior expo tomorrow from 4 to 6 at the Whitney Center. We're gonna have some snacks and beverages too, which always draws people, so we're not checking IDs at the door, you have to be over 60. But if you know anyone that you think would benefit from learning about services that are available to seniors or just networking with seniors in town, I would love to see anyone and everyone there. And then on the other facilities committee subcommittees, like we talked about with Ken, he's working on the trails information and access to where all the trails are in Jackson and if they're walkable and what condition they're in. We're also have a subcommittee that's working on signage and really access to where parking is in Jackson, because we all know it's at the Jackson Falls, but do you know it's behind the historical museum and that's by the library. So better signage and information communication either on the town website or the chamber of where parking is available. And the other one, I can't remember what the fourth one was, senior? Gray's Inn Garage, that's right. How could I forget that?
We're
So,
having our first meeting tomorrow evening.
Perfect. And just kind of deciding the amount of storage that is provided for different committees and the library, for example, the highway department, the fire department, and what can be done as an alternative. Is it a great place to knock down and build a water park? Just kidding. What needs to be done with it moving forward? So that's
Water parks are not permitted in the town of Jackson, according to the zoning ordinance.
yes, I know. Against my husband's better wish, he really wants a water park. And
Just like for the day.
just kidding.
What foresight they had.
So that is the
Planners.
that's basically the 4 subcommittees that have some traction right now. Thank you.
All right, so now back to the porta potty. We have a few around. We want to get another one, but we're not quite sure where we're going to place it. Is that kind of where we're at?
Yeah, I actually spoke to Garland Waste today. They called for when we're gonna have the summer seasonal porta potties put in. And she did mention, I asked about, the reason this came up is because there were some issues with people needing restrooms in the winter months, but there was nowhere for no facility, and so they were using some of the businesses and they don't have public restrooms. So anyway, so they do offer porta potties throughout the winter. They suggested not having the handicap ones. We have 3 that are handicapped. They suggested not having handicap because of the size of the tank is larger on the ones that are not handicapped, and that's better for the winter apparently. So I told her we were talking about locations. Gary's not here, but he had mentioned continuing to keep the library lot one all year round, and then somewhere near the historical society area, because those are the businesses that were having issues. But we need to figure out what the best location would be. And if
So
you guys
where
want
are
to
the 3? The falls, we have 1, the library
ballpark.
parking, and the ballpark.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are the 3.
But the ball area wouldn't work, and they talked
Yeah.
about the above, like the dugout area, and that wouldn't really work either,
You mean for year round?
for
Yeah.
year round,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we need a 4th one year-round.
So we would have
We would have
2 year round and 2 seasonal,
seasonal.
and they would exchange, when the season allowed, they would exchange the 2 non-handicapped for 2 handicapped during the summer months.
Non-winter months.
Yeah.
Has anyone talked to Anne Fillion at the Historical Society? I mean, I know it's not her building or anything, but I wonder if that would be a good spot in the back area where there's parking.
On the uphill side or
Yeah.
down by the gazebo?
No, on the uphill side, where you really wouldn't see it, but you could also put that on our parking map that's gonna be, made someday and
Yeah.
have it labeled that there's parking in that area because.
I can
it's
reach
really
out.
Nice.
Kind of like that idea being on the uphill
Yeah,
side, on the backside,
so it
not
wouldn't
right
be
in the
seen.
town.
But if you know where it is, like I said, if, the chamber has a map of Jackson and this is where we have parking and this is where we have porta potties.
Yeah,
Just might be a thought, but it would be, I'd like to certainly have Ann's weigh in on that.
so that's why this thing is pending, because we don't know exactly sure where we're gonna put it, but. Does anybody out there have any suggestions, just while we're listening to this discussion?
The Conservation Commission has discussed having one located at the Historical Society.
Okay, on either side of the building, you didn't say
No,
anything
no.
specific, okay. All right, but that kind of makes sense because it's the center of town.
Yeah.
All right, well, get that figured out.
Maybe I'll include you in the email.
You managed to have it below would be visibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that would also be
The disadvantage,
that
yeah.
we're talking about as well.
But if people are using the businesses, they can certainly point them
Right.
right
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
the street. It would
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Mm.
All right. All right, we'll figure that one out. People are generally.
When do we usually get the ones put in for the summer?
Well, we used to get them closer to Memorial Day, but we kind of gotten them a little bit earlier due to
Yeah.
the kids at the field. So I think within the next couple of weeks, we're going to be
Right.
getting them.
Okay, so let's go to short-term rentals, applications for approval. There are no new permits, but we do have some violations. The first violation is for Harvey on 7 Balsam Drive. And an egress issue is in the loft area per Kevin Bennett. So Kevin, do you want to describe to us what's going on there?
Yeah, what do you think about that one? Oh, yeah,
That's
it's
the
the
one-
cabin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, for some reason, believe it or not, I just clicked on that site and I noticed the pictures they had online and I'm like, whoa. I know that house, they got 2-bedroom septic system, and they've been in here before about trying to argue to have up to 10 people or 2 families. And that was because of another possible violation, and that's up in here too. So anyway, looking at the pictures, I just emailed Julie Hoyt and I said, they've got 2 beds up in the loft area with no egress. And I'm like, that's wrong, and they're on Airbnb. So for some reason, within 4 days or something, that site was taken down. Don't ask me why. And then we've got some emails going back and forth, and supposedly they said they weren't renting since October 11th of 2022. So I don't really know why Airbnb had those pictures up, advertising that place.
Okay.
And so anyway, I'm bringing up the fact that they should not have bedrooms upstairs in the loft without a second means of egress. That's my opinion. And I did tell Jay Henry, the fire chief, about it too.
And what was his response?
Oh, yeah, he said town needs to deal with it, now that we know about it, and it's clear, it's clear pictures of it.
But now you're telling me that they're not online. It just sort of disappeared.
Yeah.
For the moment.
And this whole email chain has started, and, we didn't do that, we did this and stuff, so.
And his position was that this was something that went forward under your supervision?
No.
Is that the Kevin he's referring to here?
Kevin Bennett, he must be.
No, I did a certificate of occupancy many years ago in that place.
Yeah.
And then, and on the certificate of occupancy, it says 2 bedrooms, and they're located downstairs in that cabin. That loft was for storage at that time, and has since turned into, whatever they wanted to use it for, but the latest was 2 beds on one corner, one in the other corner.
Right. Sleeping loft.
Yeah.
So-
Exactly.
So although they're not renting now, I mean, the potential still to start with the STR is, right? And the problem that you see hasn't been resolved, apparently, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't know. So what do the other two selectmen think about sending them a warning when we know that they were wrong, but now they're off and we don't know in what direction they're going? Should this be something that we
Well,
have more communication with them? Or
I
I
think
wanna
there
get some
should,
guidance
in
here.
my opinion, I think there should be some more communication with him. First of all, I do wanna say too, though, that when we do have violations, I thought we had talked about making sure that we communicated with the owners before the agenda went out, so I wanna make sure we do that moving forward, and I'll touch base with you, Julie.
Well,
on
I
that.
think the way in which Julie and I were discussing it is that whenever anything ends up on the agenda, it's for you to discuss, to decide whether a violation has occurred. If a violation has occurred, then they will be able to speak to that, but not just for you to discuss it. Because it gets complicated when we're having this communication, when a violation may not even be there.
Right, I hear that side of it, but on the other hand, I feel like if someone's property is being discussed, regardless of whether or not a violation is going to, or has occurred or not, they should be able to be present, or at least try to be present, because we can make a motion to file a complaint today, even though Mr. Harvey has been emailing us, et cetera. He
And has
could be
removed
here
his-
he could be here to tell his side of the story if he didn't have the
I think Julie
opportunities
was
to email. So.
following guidance from council on the proper process, and there has been gray area back and forth with the
Yeah.
procedure for that. So maybe we need to figure out exactly.
On violations, I feel like if someone is going to be on the agenda with the possibility of a violation being discussed, motion or not, I feel like they should be invited to the meeting in a means other than finding out on an agenda item. I don't know what you guys think. If it were me, I'd leave you up
I think
short-term
that's-
rental.
I think that's fair.
The zoning ordinance does not require notice.
I think it's respectful.
I
I
think
agree
it's,
with
You know,
you.
whatever you choose, but,
Yeah,
you know, it's not required.
yeah.
I think it's reasonable to inform property owners that their property is going to be up for discussion. I don't know if that translates into an invitation or not, but, my concern is that there's no reconciling their view right now with Kevin's historical perspective, and that, I don't know what having them here could do to remove the black and white fact that had posted a property on a short-term rental site
Mhm.
that was in violation of the town ordinance. And I think the one piece that I want to be able to speak to here before we get off of that is that a second floor renovated space that's now serving as a bedroom without appropriately coded egress is a life safety issue.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, the big thing in my mind right now is that we're dealing with a short-term rental here that's got a life safety issue related violation to it. So, I want to be cautious about having this conversation on record at an official meeting without taking action for something that we know is a life safety issue.
Mhm.
So what happens 2 weeks from now? Are we willing to look the other way because they haven't, I mean, obviously he's aware of this because he's responded, and so I think that the sound approach is to go ahead and recognize that there's a violation, and frankly, he's had an opportunity to respond to it. We understand there's a life safety issue there. I'm happy to put it back on the agenda in 30 days, absolutely. and reconsider anything that we didn't get right today, but I wanna err on the side of caution when it comes to a life safety issue.
And so you feel that a first violation warning is needed here?
Absolutely, I feel it's appropriate.
I agree with that.
Does the life safety issue remain in place if they choose to just not continue with the short-term rental and have family members stay?
Well,
and get it?
yeah, family is different than paid renters, so, that's their discretion. Recommended? No, their discretion, they're not paying customers and it's not considered under their short-term rental conditional use permit, but I agree with the violation notice, and Mr. Harvey can definitely defend his violation at a future meeting, but I think it should be.
So should we
sent as well.
also have some sort of process if people want to stop renting, so they notify the office? Because if he's removed his ad, is he continuing to
Yeah.
rent or not?
I think that, didn't we have somebody else do that recently that, said they weren't operating without a conditional use permit, and they said
And
we're
they
not
said,
renting it
yes,
anymore?
we did
So,
get
we don't
verified.
really have anything housekeeping wise that says discontinue my conditional use permit or remove it. Do we, Bill, is there any tool in place that we have? Because it travels with the property, correct? To a conditional use permit, I think, so.
Well, what we know is he violated once, now he's not, or they are not advertising at all. And as far as we know, the life safety situation is still there. So it gets back to the point that Bob was making, that they did not follow our rules to begin with. Maybe, if we send the warning, we're certainly gonna hear from them, and then maybe get down to whether they're gonna be renting it all ever again and fix some of these things. Go ahead.
I understand we have a place of discussion, we have a short-term rental, and if we've identified it, we have a process. I don't understand, and I'm not aware of, I'm not familiar with what the process is for any other identification for just any old household in town. What happens if, for example, you say, okay, here they are using a space as a bedroom with inappropriate egress, which is a life safety issue, but they don't rent. What is the process for that? Is there any process for that in town?
For new construction, that's not allowed, so that's pretty simple to take care of that. But existing homes, unless we're there with the fire department on an investigation, and we see something like that, it's definitely gonna be brought up. Basements, someone down in the basement, no egress, someone in the loft, no egress. If there's a bed down there, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just couch, that's different, but a bed, it's the definition of a bedroom for me as a building inspector. So at that point, I think a letter would be sent that would tell the homeowners, like, hey, you need to fix the situation and don't have people sleeping down there.
It's just a warning, there's no money attached to it this time, it's a warning, and to let them know where we're at. So what do you,
I'm in
Any more
favor of
discussion?
sending the first notice.
okay,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Can I ask a follow-up question though, Kevin? If you don't know about it and you're not called to the house to do any inspection or anything like that, and I always think back to when I was a kid, we had 6 people sleeping in the attic, 6 kids in the attic.
You got it.
It's bad parenting at that point, right?
Well, exactly, I don't think we knew better back then.
Yeah.
That is-
But I mean, if you don't know about it, stuff's gonna happen and you're not gonna
Times have
police
changed.
Yeah.
Something like, kids in cars with no seatbelts way
it.
back.
Right.
Now we got them in child seats and strapped to the middle seat in the back. Big difference.
My sister still thinks she fell out of the car one. I'm sorry.
Okay, we have,
All right.
Kimball, 13 Tucker Lane, an STR without conditional use of permit, but the update on this is that they spoke with Julie, and they didn't know that they needed they will submit application this week. What was generally the conversation?
Yes, I already have parts of it, and the rest is on its way with the check.
Okay, so we're just status quo at the moment here.
Mhm.
All right. And we won't be sending this. We have to sign this or anything? We still have to sign this. Put that over here. Now, owner Malloy and 31 Hurd Road. I don't have this here, Julie.
They're without a conditional use permit as well,
Okay,
but we haven't heard from them, so.
okay.
And so this is on a short-term rental site.
Oh, there it is. Okay,
Yep.
on Hurd Road, yeah. STR without conditional use permit, so.
Are you familiar with the property on 31 Hurd?
I am, and I know, unless they get new owners, they've been renting for years.
Without a,
Yeah, probably, yeah.
it's not
I
registered.
think I saw it right across the street all winter long.
Okay.
All right, so this is one of those obvious ones.
I'll make a motion to file a first violation notice for operating a conditional use, or operating a short-term rental without a conditional use permit.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And again, public service announcement, if you know of any people that are operating a short-term rental without a conditional use permit, please let the office know so we can make sure that they're in compliance and safe. We're not managing them, we just wanna make sure everyone's safe, doing it right.
All right, and this comes under the pending column. Ms. Holcomb? It says updated, so what is the update in terms of, as far as the bedroom numbers and all of what's going on up there?
It's for you all to determine. I
Well,
was told that you knew what was going to happen, and I was told to just come here and listen.
all right, well, you are applying for, I think, are you trying to get a 4-bedroom septic system, and is that part of your deal?
No, I'd rather not talk about it.
So
I'll have
everything,
my counsel here if that's necessary.
everything matches the 3-bedroom septic.
All right, so what you have right now and what you're advertising is a match, and you're good for what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay, all right, well, so that should resolve that for a while, as long as it's a 3-bedroom advertising.
Mhm.
And your counsel, what, I'm not sure why that reference was made.
I hired an attorney.
Okay,
He couldn't
So-
be here today, and so I'm here to listen.
any discussion here from the other 2 selectmen?
The only thing I know about this issue is what's here in this Word document, so I'm not really up to speed on it. Just update, they're all set. So if I was to read into this, it looked like at one point they showed more than 3 bedrooms and they're not showing it anymore.
Right.
Is that
That's
Yes.
correct.
interpreting that
Yes.
correctly?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
And the advertisement is changed to 3 bedrooms, so.
okay.
All right.
And a 3-bedroom advertisement with a 3-bedroom septic capacity then is aligned?
Correct.
and-
Yes. Yes.
And in good standing with our STR policy?
Yep.
Is that, am I?
That's
You
correct.
got it,
Okay.
you got it. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Holcomb.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right, we have a bunch of building and driveway permits here, approved building permits, there's a bunch of them here, I don't think I got it. And Kevin, you were busy lately.
Yeah, some of these are all, some of these are go almost a month.
Well, it's been a month since we've
had
met.
a meeting, so. I think there, unless you guys have any questions, you're all pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
There is a great big, as you see, bringing home up on Town Hall Road, so.
Well, expand that tax base, it's okay. All right. Well, approved driveway permits not applicable this time around, so next thing I'm gonna do is tell you when our next meetings are. Tuesday, April 25th at 3:30,
Mhm.
Tuesday, May 9th at 3:30, and then Then another Tuesday, May 23rd at 3:30. Before we close this meeting up, are there any public comments? Would anybody like to make any public comments? Kevin?
I just have a quick comment. I was looking up the water testing up at the old dump. And I made a couple phone calls and they haven't got back to me. But I was kind of looking to see what they were testing for. And there's a certain substance that I didn't see on that list. So I'm trying to find out if they're testing for it because,
I just got the reports from HEB, so come see me tomorrow.
oh, okay, all right, because there's a certain substance that showed up in a local well in town here, a public water system. And once it's here, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not going away. So I thought maybe the first test was just a fault, but this is the third quarter it showed up.
From the Balloon site you're talking about? Or from the
No, it's
public?
not from the Blue side because that's what I'm trying to find out. It's downstream from there. So talking to DES and some of the people who work on this stuff, you
Yeah.
know, I'm wondering I'm like, where's this stuff coming from?
Coming from,
So there's a whole list. And sure enough, like old dumps are listed on there as one of possible, problems or whatever. It's pretty interesting that one of the wells up there, I was looking at the pH of it.
Mhm.
pH is like 4.7.
and it should be,
Well, 7's neutral.
okay.
So either you're in the upper 6s or the lower 7s. So either your water's acidic or alkaline, right?
Yeah,
That's
right,
what I'm saying,
right.
yeah.
And you said, what is the pH?
There was a 4.7.
That's what ours is.
So, wow, isn't that really acidic?
Oh, it's low.
You know?
5, normal range is 5.
Yeah.
Below that indicates exceptionally clear water.
I think the lower it is, the more acidic it is.
So what is the appropriate, how often should you test your water if you have a well?
And so I would recommend every 2 years.
And how do you just call a company to do it, or is there a kit you can get
You can get a
yourself?
kit, you can get a kit, and then it's what you want, there's a standard test, and then there's one that looks for like a lot of, chemicals or organic substances, I guess I should say.
Mhm.
And it's, the more you want, the more expensive it is. But, this chemicals is the stuff that basically is Teflon, it's, it's what we're dealing with down south.
Right.
So would you bring that to the water district, or is that
I
person's
talked to Scott
private
about
well?
that, because Scott takes care of a couple of private wells that are in the area, and
Yeah.
they've tested for it, and they haven't had any hits on it yet, which is great, it's good news.
Good.
And the main water system is fine, that's not in there, that's a total different source anyway.
Yeah,
Right.
You need more organic materials than anything else, I think. So.
But it's not necessarily coming from Balloon, but
No, it's
it's
not,
just,
no,
but there's
but it's,
some problem somewhere in that
It's
watershed.
mostly, I'd have to say, it's probably more, it's all upstream, and anything that comes down from the mountains.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's picking up the source from the groundwater and coming down and getting into the well. So, anyway,
Once we
interesting.
get, we get those stumps out of it, things will be better.
You think you wouldn't be affected by that? Let's see. So, anyway, I'm gonna find out more about that, so.
Yeah, I've got all the HEB stuff.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna talk to their engineer, and he's out in the field, so, let's see what he has to say.
I can connect you with the people that I'm working with.
That's, great, so I'll find out more.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'm interested in this discovery on the water, so if you could tag me on it, on what it is, I'd like to know. Thank you. And the other thing, I think a motion was made earlier in reference to the short-term rental application. Could you just read that back to me?
Which one was that?
I think it was adding a requirement to put the rooms and meals number, not rooms and meals, like the rental days or
the
something.
number of rentals
Oh, yes.
in
the
a
beginning.
calendar year,
Calendar year, right, which is 30.
Right, so,
maximum of 30.
so you're
As long as
asking,
you're not grandfathered or are owner occupied.
so you're asking them to put in, you know, they, I guess this is something they get printed out from Airbnb, and then they put this on their application for 2024?
No, it's a
Or-
one-time application for a conditional use permit, so when you're granted a conditional use permit, and if you're within a certain area and after a certain date that you've applied for this, you can rent up to 30 times per calendar
Okay.
year. So it's asking for an annual accounting of how many rentals you had
But
during
this-
that calendar
This
year.
is for new, this is for new applicants.
New
Not the ones
applicant.
who already have it.
Well,
I think there
There
are
are some-
probably 3 or 4
Yeah,
right,
people that fall in this category,
so far.
so it's
right.
It's
So
90% of it is grandfathered.
If I may?
Yes,
Sure,
Bill?
please. When we set up the zoning ordinance, we left open to the selectmen how they would do the enforcement for the 30 days. And in the application that was initially approved, it says that you agree that you will not rent for more than 30 days. There's also an enforcement provision in the zoning ordinance for them, for the Board of Selectmen, but it doesn't say specifically how the Board of Selectmen were going to implement, and we did that on council's advice, so that it would leave open to the Board of Selectmen whatever methodology they wanted to choose that would work best for them to identify the 30 rentals.
So what I'm understanding is, if I had a permit today, I wouldn't need to worry about this requirement
Yes, you would.
Until next year.
until next year, so you have to renew it.
No, you don't renew it, you're just submitting an accounting of how many rentals you had the
Okay.
previous year.
Right, but if you don't do that, then it doesn't get renewed?
It's not our conditional use permit
Right,
isn't,
but
isn't
what
on renewal,
happens,
but we would probably end up filing a violation notice for not submitting the accounting on your conditional
Okay.
use permit.
so everybody who has a permit needs to submit this?
No,
No.
Only
You
the
just said-
people that have applied for and been granted a conditional use permit as of January 1st, 2022-ish. And so there are only about
Well,
3 or 4.
so if you haven't rented if your
If-
home were never rented prior to March of 2020,
Right.
then you would fall into the category
Sure,
of
but
limited
if
rentals.
if I have a permit and I fall into that category,
Yeah.
then I would need to do, I need to submit
Yes.
the paperwork.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So is there so have we checked to see if asking for that is kosher? It sounds like we've got a legal opinion that it is.
Yes, yes.
Is that something that you guys can share?
We did get a legal opinion,
Right.
and told us how to write a note to say that, you know, you have to adhere to this, and by the end of January of the following year, we want to know how many you actually rented, because when you filled out your original permit, you said you were gonna do that, and we're reminding you.
Okay.
We want that number.
Okay, I was wondering if I could have that opinion, or,
I can ask.
thank you.
Yeah.
Or even the reminder that, I guess you're gonna issue a letter or a reminder, I'd like a copy of that one this time.
Actually, if you go on the town website, you can access the conditional use permit.
No, I
and
saw, I looked that up on my phone,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, like he said, it's not clear that that would be required.
It will be on the new, that we just
Right.
approved, so you can get it on there, and we'll give you a copy.
Right,
of
but
it
people
also.
who already have it and fall into the category of needing it.
We're sending them letters.
Right, you're
Right.
sending them letters.
Yes,
Well, what I'm saying is, providing that sort of private financial information isn't, or business information wasn't necessarily part of the deal when those permits were issued.
Yes,
Yes, it
yes, it
was.
was, right.
Yes,
It's all-
Not so much that not because they did promise to rent for 30 days.
Yeah. 30.
But copying up the documentation seems like a different thing.
No,
How else would we find out?
And it's not
How-
asking,
you know,
it's not asking for financial information.
It's asking for, I guess,
how many
business
times?
business information.
No more than 30 times.
So
We don't-
are you asking for dates?
dates.
They'll show us dates, I'm sure, because that's the way it would be a readout on the dates, I'm
Okay.
sure it would.
Because you know, if I texted back and forth or emailed back and forth, they consider that to be asking for, you know, private business information.
Who does?
One of the leadership of the short-term rental association people.
There you go, business.
They also agree that you shouldn't have short-term rental regulations. And it's illegal to have one, and it's also going up before the Supreme Court of the state of New Hampshire. So if everything you're saying is just opinion, and that somebody's opinion has a reason to have an opinion that is averse to short-term
Well,
regulation.
understood.
Okay.
Okay,
So it's,
So,
Damon, you know you're talking to Bill Terry, executive of our planning board, just so you know.
Yeah,
That's
he-
why he was- You probably know each other anyway.
I
So anyway, I think we beat this horse to death, okay?
All
So
right.
let's move on, and I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I will make that motion.
Okay, you gonna make, all those in favor?
Hi,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Wow.
At what?
30 times.